It's coming up on 6:17 now here at KLIF, and a study recently released by the Harvard Business Review shows the immediate benefits of saying nice things about colleagues to their face. But it's not always very easy to do.
It's amazing to me. I've always, this is something that's fairly recent. I'm an old guy and I've been around for a long time, and it used to be something you just did. You told your friend at work, hey, that was a great job you did.
We do that back and forth.
We do, but you don't see a lot of it.
But we work in a small room together for how many hours?
Yes. But the thing is that, it just makes perfect sense. But I have a theory. I have an idea about why you don't. We hear people.
I know why.
Complimenting each other behind their backs. I'll go to...
I don't even hear that.
Really? Occasionally I'll hear somebody say something nice about somebody else, but I never hear them say that to the person who is getting the compliment.
See, I think if you're not secure in yourself in your job, then you have a tough time complimenting your coworkers.
I also think that it's not cool in today's culture. It's uncool to do that because snarky is cool. Let's talk with the expert here, workplace culture expert Jim Whiddon, who's written a book called The Old School Advantage. Mr. Whiddon, good morning.
Good morning, Dave, Amy. Good to be with you.
What do you think about everything we were just talking about here?
Well, I tell you, this is some old school stuff from my perspective. Mom said if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. We all know that. I say it often, but it's so worth repeating. Winston Churchill said words are the only things that last forever. And I think they're the most important thing in life. And so why would you not use them well, especially when you're trying to build others up? When you build others up, it builds you up. That's the irony. And as Amy was kind of implying there, when you tear others down, in the long run, it tears you down as well. So, yeah, you need to think about the situations you're in at work and then use those to everybody's advantage. And I mean everyone, you and the person that you're talking about, so that the entire team benefits from it.
Why do you think people have such a hard time complimenting each other in the workplace?
I think there's this mistaken notion that if I can, in some subtle way, kind of tear down the competition, maybe not maliciously, but, maybe by sometimes it's what you don't say that speaks volumes. And I think what you say about others has more oftentimes to say about you than it does them. So I think there's just maybe a competitive nature that keeps us silent when we should be encouraging one another. The article you referred to, Amy, talked about several situations. One of those was introductions and just promoting a mindset in the workplace that says, it's not just what you do. Even though we've hired you to do a job, we want you to know it's not just about what you do, but who you are that really makes the difference. And so we want to get to know you, and we actually teach to companies a pattern or a little mnemonic that they can use to get to know people, as people. What are their hobbies? Who's their family? Where are they from? And do it in a very casual and subtle way so that the more people know about each other generally, we like each other. It's when we don't know something or anything about the other person that we start speculating and stereotyping and that kind of thing. So, again, it boils down to words and communications, or communication oftentimes.
Sounds like a great thing to know and to understand, even just in terms of your social life, being introduced to people. And the first thing we always say to each other is, oh, what do you do? And, what I do is not who I am necessarily. So how do you get into these conversations? I've always been terrible about it. But I find it much easier to introduce somebody and say, this is my partner, Amy. We work together at KLIF. She's very smart, and she's got a great deal of experience, and I'm very, very lucky to be working with her. I mean, you can be positive in a situation like that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And if you're introducing in a business situation, what you just said there, Dave, was perfect. If you're just meeting somebody for the first time, let's say it's a new employee coming in, you can ask them, say, how long have you been in the Dallas area? Well, they're going to answer that and say, well, I just got here, I was born and raised here, or I got here as soon as I could when I was 17 with my parents. But the point is, by talking about where someone is from, that begins to lower blood pressure, bring in nostalgia. People love to talk about where they're from and what they did there. And then after that conversation goes just for a few minutes, then you can bridge into, do you have family in the area? And then get to, so what exactly do you do with most of your time? Or what do you do for a living? And see, now you've shown them that you care about them as a person first and as a worker or as an employee or as a professional, whatever they do, next. It's not denigrating their profession. It's simply saying, I'm going to put you at least slightly above what you do and perhaps way above what you do.
How about if you want to say they did a great job on some project or something work-related?
The best way to do that is using stories. And again, the article you referred to mentioned this briefly, but stories bring teams together. And to say, let me tell you what Barbara did the other day with our client, Mr. Jones. And now everybody's listening, because what happens when you tell a story, I call it the Nana effect. So about everybody has a grandmother named Nana, or they know one named Nana. And when I tell you about my Nana, what happens is you think about your Nana. And so that's very connecting. So in other words, when I tell you about a great job Barbara did, and you're remembering how you felt when you did a great job and the boss or the supervisor bragged on you, and it foments this positive atmosphere of, let's tell stories on each other. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean in a positive way.
Yeah, and it makes everybody happy. Builds everybody up. Builds up the boss, absolutely, for heaven's sake. Great stuff. Thank you so much for talking with us this morning, Jim. We appreciate it. You get people on the road to thinking positively and saying nice things about your colleagues at work. That's workplace culture expert Jim Whiddon. His book is called The Old School Advantage.